Hello, people. I've been thinking. Introspectively, which maybe isn't a good thing. I've encountered a lot of death in the past 2 or 3 years, and it got me thinking about my own brushes with death. Yeah, this one's going to be morbid.
There are risks in every roll of the dice. This way, they can advance all the way home on just one.
How do we cope with it?
Trust a gambler.
Everybody has their own way, I think. But
Roll.
I think the first encounter with death I had, that I am consciously aware of, personally, was in Eden Market High Street. I remember
What does it mean? Sacrifice.
running out across the road to the newsagents as a small child and being so close to the radiator of a lorry, I can remember feeling the warmth of it.
You can't ask him to do that. If you do not sacrifice one, all three will be lost.
It's a memory I still have. Just from that side,
Which one is which?
and obviously my parents screaming. I can remember feeling the warmth of the radiator on the front of that truck. Because the town I grew up in is by the side of the A14 in Suffolk. And if there were roadworks or an accident, lorries would cut through Needham Market.
A mistake has been made. This is all a misunderstanding. Please. I learned my lesson.
The next encounter was when my grandfather died when I was 12. The one who was the RAF veteran. My other grandfather died when I was too little to remember. Yeah, a bit of DS9 in the background. I remember being very heavily affected by that. I didn't know him that well, but I had a lot of respect for the guy. I mean, later on, obviously, in life, I found out, joined the RAF in 1934 as an engineer, ground crew, not a flight engineer. Came out of it with the British Empire Medal for Meritorious Conduct. We even found the well, with the help of a friend, I found the entry in the London Gazette where he was awarded it, probably by a member of the royal family. It's a significant award. The next thing I can seriously remember is being a teenager and my father's younger brother, not the youngest, he's still with us, my father's younger brother, no, hang on. Then I remember an incident in which an uncle of mine at the age of 19, so this would have been probably in between the ages of 12 and 14, was basically found hanged in a barn. He was a police cadet. There, because he seemed perfectly okay at the time to his friends and family, this was rumoured to have been he'd attended a course as part of the training on suicide and how people do it. And he was found hanged in a barn, and there was a lot of speculation at the time that he had been experimenting practically, because there were no indications according to his family, but we don't know. That was a weird one. Then at the age of, I think, about 17, 18, my father's second youngest brother, he had 3 brothers, only one of them is still alive, blatantly committed suicide. Back then, I didn't have the feelings because I was given things like his Walkman. Yeah, this was a long time ago, wasn't it? Sony Walkman. I'm not sure I would have touched them, knowing what I do now. Obviously, as a teenager who really hadn't experienced much of life back then, and hadn't really thought much about death, because what teenager does.
How could I live up that life knowing I left you behind doing that?
Don't let sentiment get in the way of
Commanding decisions. Yeah. I've heard that one.
That was a weird one. Well, he'd been
if you were hurt.
having mental issues due to a divorce and a toxic relationship and various other things. He'd made repeated attempts, basically abusing his mother, my grandmother, over the phone, saying he was going to top himself. British expression. Just not sure whether the YouTube algorithm is going to like the actual word for it. He was very mentally disturbed in a lot of ways. He was one of the only ones that had pretenses towards the military, but he never did anything more than what in the US I think you call the militia. You know, that kind of level. I forget what we call them in this country now. Weekend warriors would have been the catchphrase we use. World War II, it would have been the Home Guard, you know. So that area. Reservists, basically. I remember one time he turned up in our local pub, still in all his camo gear with the camouflage paint on. And this being Needham Market, everybody thought, what a prick. If it had been in a group, it would have probably been more acceptable. I mean, this is something I learned. I'd learned by the age he was then, that you don't really do that. It's like there are a couple of people I know around Ipswich who will go into environments where certain behaviours are not acceptable and just behave like that anyway. You know, like a guy who constantly struts around town in the middle of the day in full corpse paint and, you know, dressed up totally over the top, struts around. I bet you don't do that at night. You know, there's a time and a place for it. The idea that any behaviour is acceptable anywhere is becoming quite trendy? Is that the word? well, it's being demanded, but
that you would prevail against rage.
there's a time and a place for everything.
I'm afraid.
Hell, even back in the 90s, at my wildest, I wouldn't go full
You mean
white face eyeliner unless I was going clubbing in London for the weekend.
It's only a game.
Where was I? I went off on a tangent there, didn't I?
To move along, Paul. Not so fast.
Yeah, so there was my
All
uncle.
have been a game to you, but we take first.
Then between the ages of about 17 and 25, 26-ish.
You might want to ask Quark just how this all started.
Probably about 25, actually. I spent a lot of time on motorcycles. The very first day I had my Suzuki GPZ 100. No, GP 100, not the GPZ, that was the sports one.
Not what you said.
The very first day I had that,
Floor.
Oh, that's right.
on L plates obviously,
Groveling.
You said
it was
something
red so
about
it went faster.
cheating.
Cheating.
I would have said anything to end the ordeal. It was too much for me to bear. You have no idea
I
the pressure I was under, Commander.
went off around Stowmarket and I distinctly remember
Perhaps someday.
sitting in the town centre, revving this little two-stroke thing, neglecting to notice a guy on a much larger motorcycle was walking towards his, and I'm like, ning, 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 ning. Then all of a sudden I was there, and the guy just went, sorry. Bikers, man, they were part of my youth. I have no bad words to say against them. This was at a time in my life when I was going to motorcycle rallies on Mersey Island in Essex, the local Everston White Horse yearly bike show. I was a steward there. You know, it was they were good times. And during those good times, like I said, Stowmarket, stop going off on the tangent again. Then I went to go visit a girl I was quite into in one of the outlying villages. I had my leather trousers on and everything. I felt really cool because I had a 100cc two-stroke motorcycle. Wow. Oh dear.
Jake, I've got a terrific.
And
Yeah? What is it?
The two of us are going
and
to
after,
gratitude.
you know, a summer afternoon, feeling all eager because I thought I'd impressed her,
Since it's pretty spectacular. And
I took a corner too fast, skidded on some gravel and slammed myself into a farm gate.
That's great. When do we leave?
this afternoon, right after school.
Had to have a friend of mine.
For how long?
3 days.
3 days? Computer orange juice. Dad, do I have to go?
Well,
Oh, that's right. I think I knew his number and I phoned his contact number
Thanks, Dad.
to get him to come out and help me. And he phoned my parents and he got my bike home
There's an Andorian
because
freedom
I'd
doing
buggered the
all
throttle
these checks
cable
and all
or
that.
something.
Dorian freedom.
So yeah, survived that one,
He's
alright.
supposed to be carrying a shipment of those new anti-grav tractors. We're hoping we'll get a
About a year or so later, I was on a GPZ 125.
On a cargo bay with
No, I think it was I forget. I think no, can't remember the denomination of the bike, but it was a 125. Might have even been a CG 125.
Me, madam. Here at Quark's, customer
Suzuki,
satisfaction is our primary concern.
I think.
Now, you run along back to the
No, Honda. It was a Honda.
Rob,
And I was following a friend of mine on a much larger motorcycle with someone on the back. He braked far too quickly.
I was dazzled by her beauty.
I didn't react in time. My lighter bike hit his back wheel, and I just went off and went bouncing down the road.
You never give the
First thing I saw when I opened my eyes was a vicar. Oh, shit.
Now get out of my sight before I
Well,
toss you at the nearest
turns out, as far as I was concerned at that age, I was all right. We motorcycled down to Chelmsford to a gig that night.
No! Is this what they teach you at that
And we were, you know,
and ignorance?
dancing around and slamming into each other. Got back.
Polish every rail.
That Sunday I went to a friend's house.
Is that clear? Yes, Father.
Went to the toilet and peed bright red. His sister was a nurse at Bury Hospital. So I went up there, turned out I'd hemorrhaged one of my kidneys.
And so the undoing-
There's nothing quite as frightening as seeing yourself pee bright red.
I thought it was you.
I can testify to that one.
Wife.
Yeah, then I believe there was another one where I basically misjudged a turning and got blinded by a car and ended up going off near enough into a
This is my father.
river, managing to avoid slamming into a brick humpback bridge. Yeah. But then, after I passed my motorcycle test and went on to
Tell me,
larger
is here on business?
motorcycles,
Is there a difference? No, of course not.
no.
My father.
Once I was on larger motorcycles, I never had another accident.
He's friend. As for now, he desires the use of a holo suite. He's heard that some of the programs are quite alluring. Oh, they are. They are. But,
During this period, I experienced 2 friends' deaths. There was Julian, who, when I didn't have a bike that was working, which was occasionally because I wasn't that much of a mechanic. I would be now, but, you know, you learn, don't you? Well, basically,
here's a list of 5 programs that rank among my personal favorites.
he got hit by a car not 20 minutes from his home and was killed outright on his Honda 404. He was a good friend of mine. He introduced me to Terry Pratchett, the author. He was a good bloke. Julian was. Really was. It was not long after that I started drifting away from the motorcycle scene. I went through a period of unemployment. Couldn't really afford to run one, you know. Good times. You know, and then there was a period of, I suppose, relative peace. Towards the end of the biking days, also, you know, Julian's death was mourned, but it was dealt with. He died doing something he loved. The other death that occurred in that time period, also a motorcyclist, was from a brain hemorrhage, which hit us harder, I think. When you're a motorcyclist, when you're a biker, if a friend dies in a motorcycle accident, you kind of begrudgingly accept it. Because they died doing something they love. It makes it different. But it was Nigel's death that shocked us more, I think. I think it was at that time the group started drifting in certain ways.
Sorry I'm late. But the transporter notes needed a minor adjustment in its upper molecular imaging scanner. But never mind that. All right, let's settle down. Let's settle down. Jake, go.
Now perhaps we get to the dog.
Thank you. Now, we only have 2 more weeks to get through before Mrs. O'Brien returns.
I don't remember too much in the 90s.
Right?
Well, there you go.
Right, let's get out our homework.
But then,
We begin with the older students.
my next true brush with death was after an extremely bad period in my life that involved
I don't have my say.
recreational drugs.
My pad was stolen.
Is that a fact? Any idea who stole it?
Toxic relationships on both ends. I was just as guilty.
And there were some Vulcans nearby.
Hold on. You were saying
I basically tried to commit suicide by cop. Didn't work out for me.
any idea why?
And then
Because they don't have ethics?
within
Right, that's enough.
the next 3 or 4 years, I had one overdose of over the counter. Yeah. Also, just before that period, I also overdosed on illegal recreational drugs and stopped breathing, apparently.
Yeah.
Lucky enough, someone was there to revive me.
I was there.
All right. But I want that essay in tomorrow. Is that understood?
Yes.
I hope so.
I often wonder whether I should have died already, and now the universe is confused as to what to do with me. Maybe that's why I find it difficult to fit in anywhere, because I shouldn't be here.
Are you suggesting we disobey him?
It's an interesting philosophy, that one, but it's what kind of triggered this video. I mean, yeah. Or maybe it's PTSD that makes me feel like that from these things and the experiences of the last 4 years,
You think he's here to take over the bar? Why else would he come
especially 4 or 5 years.
to buy me out?
Before that, I lost another good friend from the 90s.
Why didn't I?
Then another one. And then another good friend was basically killed outside a kebab shop 10 minutes from where I live, just before COVID hit us. I didn't lose any relatives to COVID,
My father requires rest.
I would imagine.
but I did
Please feel free to use my own
lose
brother's quarters.
associates, people who I knew,
That should be
people with health issues who were vulnerable.
Is there anything else I could do to make your stay a pleasant one? Invite me to dinner. Beyond it.
And never finding a place means I do contemplate death more than I should at times.
Get a cool on immediately.
Not
That's Jones.
So, how's school?
initiating it by my own hand, because I view that these days as a dishonourable act.
Having a hard time.
Well, you know how it is, sir. Kids.
It keeps me going.
To take advantage of a substitute teacher. I always did.
I hope Jake's behaving himself.
Jake.
Oh, look,
Fine answer.
need to go dip into the jug.
It's just. Well,
It's...
this was
And then,
my son.
after this friend who I'd known since the 1990s, I think I first met him in some circles, fondly remembered Hollywood's nightclub, which became Cartouche, then Zest in Ipswich here. Good old days. Oh, pardon me. And I suppose someone's going to tell me off for farting on these videos now. I mean, someone's told me off for blowing my nose. Oh. Then, after that, you will see me again soon. Told you. we had the whole weird COVID-y thing. Oh,
My compliments, Quark. These two grubs are chilled to perfection.
basically, I found the whole lockdown period in the UK to be
Your cousin Barbo racing Barbo? I thought he was still in that
an
aaaaand detention center.
interesting time.
How fortunate. He told me how to
I witnessed.
effective warp drives to the aaaaand
Hang on.
government. Very clever. Oh, it was nothing. The Terraholians are incredibly gullible people. He also told me how you betrayed him to the left their rot behind cars while you kept all the profits.
I witnessed a time when this country was total lockdown and you weren't allowed to go travel to anything but essential. You had to stay home. And living in central Ipswich here, I was witnessing urban foxes just trotting up the street in broad daylight. It was amazing. Because where I live is a major thoroughfare and there's also a private school literally over there. Morning rush hour and school run time, major traffic normally. I noticed such a difference in the smell of the air. So I found benefits to that period. Then 2 years ago, around about Christmas, my father died. He spent 3 weeks in hospital over the Christmas period.
And you allow your son to attend such a place?
No, I never want you to step foot in there again. Now go to your room.
My relationship with my father had been difficult.
And no studying.
But in the last 10 or 15 years of his life, we knew each other, I think, and respected each other. I was glad of that.
Now, speaking of business, Quark, I've come to ask a favor of you, and
I genuinely
to me. I need your
feel a fondness towards the brighter memories, despite also remembering the bad ones as well. He had a temper problem, so do I, go figure.
Consider it a privilege. And the purpose of this conference is the future.
But not in my knowledge was the violence ever intended. It was simple loss of emotional control on rare occasions.
Orangi transports the Pula is put in a dock in Bay 5.
That was a hard time, I think.
Maybe it's Quark's birthday. My advice is to lock up.
He had a good innings. He was in his 80s.
Cisco to Odo.
Go ahead, Commander. About all these Ferengi visitors.
My life wasn't going very well at that point. Hadn't been for years. It was the initial stages of the disassociation of myself with my family. I was actually told that I didn't have to go at the funeral if I didn't want to, which speaks volumes as to my relationship with the rest of the family.
Quickly, you fool, we want to toss you at the nearest airlock. I thought you understood this was to be a private meeting. Yes.
Well, yeah, that isn't what this video is concentrating on, is it?
Go away.
Then, almost a year precisely later,
We await the Grand Negus.
one of my mentors in Viking Saxon reenactment announced just before Christmas that he was having to be moved into a hospice. He kept it very quiet. He had cancer, it had spread. And he passed away, and I had another funeral to go to.
Enough drinks. All right, I'm going quick.
I'd watched uncles and aunts go as well.
You stay. Me?
But he was one of my idols and mentors. That hit hard.
Gentlemen,
His funeral and wake was spectacularly epic, as befits a true Viking. And I still miss him.
Where were you this morning? I'm through with school. Well, what do you mean through? I mean, I don't have to attend those boring classes anymore. Is this your father's idea? It's the right decision. Look, if you want, I'll talk to Mr. O'Brien. No.
I suppose the thing is,
Not fair. Don't you want to learn things?
I've seen a lot of death. I'm sure I've missed out a few.
And other stuff. You don't understand. I'm a Ferengi. For me, school is a waste of time. And why is that? Because there's no profit in it. So why are you getting mad at me? Because you're a stupid human. I don't know why,
But I still choose to live.
I'm stupid. You're the one not going to school.
Rough as my life is.
See if I care.
and lastly, I would like to
I mean, basically, as far as I'm concerned, because I haven't heard any different, near enough outcast from what's left of my own family.
I congratulate you all.
My only support is my partner, and we struggle.
Nevertheless, it is becoming more and more difficult to find truly
Hell, we're going to be living on
opportunities
dried
here
goods
in the
and,
Alpha Quadrant.
well, dried goods and whatever we can scrounge from local food banks for the next week and a half.
A reputation tainted by the lies of our competitors, who maliciously spread the erroneous impression.
I'll probably have to give up the booze for a week. Last time I did that, I was suffering sweatings and shakes. I know that's not good, but don't worry. It's par for the course. I've been there before.
The Gamma Quadrant, gentlemen. Millions of new worlds at our very doorstep. The potential for Ferengi business expansion is staggering. And best of all, no one there has ever heard the name Ferengi. Our reputation would be absolutely stainless.
So how do I conclude this?
We are bond until we decide to break it. It'll be the good old days all over again.
I just think that the universe fated me to die a long time ago in one of those incidents, but it didn't happen, and maybe that's why I don't fit in anywhere, because I'm not supposed to fit. I'm an anomaly. I'm an anomaly in the space-time continuum.
Yes, you are. More so. Now,
But I make sure I spread fun and chaos wherever I go, because as far as I'm concerned, that's my purpose.
my successor.
I question everything.
A leader whose vision, imagination, and avarice will oversee Ferengi ventures in the Gamma Quadrant.
The only thing I don't question is my belief in a certain historical article I read recently, written by an American, hello, that featured top 5 battleships of World War II, and there was no mention of HMS Warspite. Where's the Warspite? The Grand Old Lady of Jutland. Disappointing. I mean, come on, the Bismarck only served 10 days. Even though she's ridiculously famous. 10 days was the operational lifetime of that ship. After she sank the hood, admittedly, but... Then the Royal Navy hunted her down. The Yamato saw action once. And then got sunk by the US Navy air arm. The Warspite served in World War I and was there in every major action of World War II. Why was she not on that list?
Want to talk about it?
It's Nog.
Anybody who has an interest in that kind of thing, Yeah, I appreciate BB63, the Mighty Missouri, Mighty Mo, as featured in Battleship, which, other than her featuring, was pretty crap movie, has to be said.
I don't think he wants to be my friend anymore.
But honestly, I urge you guys to educate yourself if you have an interest.
Usually they don't.
Look up HMS Warspite, the grand old lady of Jutland,
But human values
the fightiest ship in the Royal Navy, I think.
form a common
It's kind of phrase from the Mighty Jingles.
These things happen.
Anyway, I thought I'd try and end this on an upbeat note, even though it's been all about death.
How about after school we play a little baseball?
So, yeah.
I have something to do.
Never mind, 9 days and it'll get a little bit easier for a while. Got another funeral to go to though, but, you know, life and death continues, doesn't it? We can't get in the way of it. Well, I can't, I haven't got the money.
For those who are jealous of your